Calling joint meeting of Kwanza, Kenya and current Toastmasters in order. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Good evening, Karenites and Kwanzanites. Welcome to our joint meeting. May I call upon the Sergeant at Arms to give us our meeting protocols?
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. My name is Idelo Witi, and today I, in conjunction with Ross Bengat, will be your Sergeant at Arms. I welcome you to this joint meeting of Kwanza, Kenya and Karen Toastmasters Club. Now, to facilitate the smooth running of this meeting, I will give you some ground rules. The first one, for those following online, I urge you to mute your microphones when not speaking to avoid incommoding our speakers. For those following online again, I urge you to put your videos on so that we can see your beautiful and handsome faces. For those in the meeting room, I urge you to mute your gadgets, your phones, your tablets and laptops so that we don't interrupt the meeting. And finally, and this is the most important meeting protocol ever, enjoy yourselves. Because if you don't enjoy yourselves here, then I don't know what you want. You won't enjoy yourself elsewhere. And finally, though there is no guest, but our guests, we charge you a small fee of 300 shillings to facilitate the smooth running of these meetings. I'll share with you the payment details during the meeting. Thank you, Mr. President, and back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Sergeant at Arms. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, thank you once again for joining our meeting. To our guests, Toastmasters is a worldwide network of clubs where members meet regularly to develop their communication and leadership skills. During this meeting, you will witness members giving speeches, receiving evaluations, and also participating in impromptu speeches. You may be requested to take part. Please do. Otherwise, sit back and enjoy the meeting. We are glad to welcome back our members who've been away for a while. I can see Toastmaster Kendi Mwambila, who's not been in a physical meeting in a while. Welcome. We are honored to be joined today by our District Director in District 114. She will be participating later in the meeting and will be properly introduced then. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, we are coming to the end of the Toastmaster year. In this connection, in order to enable smooth transition, we have set up a club leadership committee to be chaired by our immediate past president, Toastmaster Anthony Kinja. He will be coming to some of you, requesting you to volunteer to participate as a club officer in the coming Toastmaster year. If you remember, one of our Toastmaster promises is to serve as a club officer if requested. I therefore encourage you to step forward and lead in case you are approached to do so. Do we have any apologies? Either from Kwanza or Karen? Apology noted. Noted. Name of Kwanza, Kenya. Thank you so much. Since this is a joint meeting, we will skip the confirmation of the minutes for both clubs. That shall be handled in the individual subsequent club meetings. And now to the main segment of our meeting. It's promising to be exciting because our Toastmaster of the day is a past president of this club, the very first Kenyan East African to win the international tape contest. She is Kwanza's first distinguished Toastmaster. She's passionate about Toastmasters, passionate about developing potentials of other peoples she comes across. And today, she's here to lead us through an exciting meeting. Without much further ado, help me welcome to the physical and the virtual stage, the Toastmaster for today's meeting, distinguished Toastmaster, Angela Rarier.
When two Ks come together, namely Karen and Kwanza, Toastmasters clubs, you know that you can look forward to some explosive kindred spirit connection. Fellow Toastmasters, ladies and gentlemen, from wherever it is that you are joining us, welcome to our meeting this evening. For those of you in Nairobi, enjoy the pitter-patter of the rain. We have looked forward to it for a very long time. Different languages across the world have literary devices that serve the purpose of making the communication fluent and florid, and therefore flavorful to listen to. This evening, our theme is what gets your goat. Now, I can bet that if you come from any community in East Africa, this phrase had you thinking, what gets my goat? A Maasai who's on a hunting raid. Or what gets my goat? It's a Christmas party. Well, I have got news for you. This idiom refers to what do you find irritating and annoying? Why did I choose this theme? In expanding our language repertoire as Toastmasters, as communicators, I thought that the theme would serve a second purpose, that of creating self-awareness. So through our role takers and our speakers today, I invite you to listen to how you have contributed to making or irritating other people. In other words, through our habits, annoying or otherwise, that make people uncomfortable or absolutely put off. So fellow Toastmasters and guests, if you don't have a pen handy, I invite you in the next 30 seconds, please grab a pen because today you are in for a treat. Our role takers and all our speakers will be generously using idioms to expand your repertoire of language, and so that when you mean to tell somebody off, you'll do it in a flavorful and florid. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to explain for the benefit of those who are attending a Toastmasters meeting for the very first time today. The typical Toastmasters meeting is divided into
Point of order.
We've lost audio.
Point of order, Madam Toastmaster. We can't hear you. There's no audio.
No audio. It's the last 5-6 minutes.
Thank you. I beg your pardon for that. That gets your goat when you're in an online audience and you have speakers whose mouths and lips are just moving and you cannot hear what they say. I beg your pardon for that. Terence Were from Early Birds is our counter, and he gets absolutely riled by the barbaric behavior of Kenyan motorists who decide to overlap and push those who are rightfully in the oncoming lane. Over to you, Terence. Please explain to us what you'll be doing in the meeting tonight.
Thank you. Angela Larriera. Picture this. You're on a bridge, moving to the next side. Unfortunately, someone on the other side keeps shaking the bridge. Ask yourself this, Toastmaster. Would you keep going or would you have to go back? Peter, you'd have to go back. Emilia, you'd go back, right? That is the same feeling that someone gets whenever we use clutch words. For our guests, clutch words include words that you put in place to fill unnecessary pauses. For instance, some say others use but, some will even use or overuse the word or. In a sense, moving from one side of the beach to the other signifies your communication. You want someone to move from the point of not knowing what you're saying to the point of people by not shaking the bridge. Let us avoid the use of clutch words. At the end of this meeting, when called upon, I'll give you a few tips on how to avoid using the clutch words. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Terence. Beautifully illustrated. Our third role taker gets absolutely irritated by people who don't behave like Toastmasters. Who are these people? They are those Kenyans, Ugandans, Tanzanians, Ethiopians, Burundians, Rwandese, who do not keep time, are tardy about showing up for meetings and appointments on time. But she and I are just about to become good friends this evening because we both enjoy some really good wine when we are not hard at work. Anne Mutwiri from Karen Toastmasters is our grammarian this evening. Anne, please tell us what is going to be your role. Yeah. You need to be. Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, before we transition into the next segment, I would like to draw your attention to a slight change in the meeting agenda. After the break, we will have table topics. It followed immediately after by a tip session by our district director. And now, fellow Toastmasters, ladies and gentlemen, we segue into the prepared speeches segment. Our first speaker is a civil engineer in the making. Do you know what gets his goat? People who are constantly busy on their mobile phones, doing anything and everything, according to him, useless activities that do not even move the mind. Joining us online. Edwin, if you could share with us the objectives of Fidel Owiti's speech.
Good evening, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Apologies for my lack of video today, as Kenya Power got my goat tonight with an unexpected blackout. The speaker I'm introducing tonight, who I will also be evaluating, is not a stranger to us, as he's also serving as our Sergeant at Arms. Fidel Owiti will be making a speech today on the topic, Bad Master, Good Servant. In this speech, he'll be seeking to put to practice his body language, gestures, and other nonverbal communication. Therefore, with no further ado, I'd like to welcome Fidel Owiti to present his speech, Bad Master, Good Servant. Bad Master, Good Servant, Fidel Owiti. Welcome.
Thank you. Please confirm you can hear me, Toastmaster Edwin.
I can hear you loud and clear.
So, what is the one thing that you never leave your house without? That is a common question, and it has a common answer. For us, for most of us, it is your phone, it is your tablet, it is your laptop. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, most of us today are addicted to our phones, to our gadgets, that we would rather leave our true selves and personalities in the house, but walk with our phones. A few years ago, I was a serious addict, a technology addict. I was addicted to my phone that I could not do without it. So one day I went to school on a Sunday morning, go and study this hard topic. By 8, I was already in class, ready to study. But before I started studying, I said, let me go to YouTube and see the politics, the sports, and the business of the weekend. But before I knew it, it was 2 hours wasted. And before I knew it, I was in Facebook, spying what my immediate past girlfriend. And before I knew it, it was evening and my whole day was wasted. I was embarrassed and ashamed of myself. But I consoled myself that after all, today is the weekend. I'll wake up and try again the next day. So I started working on this problem, this addiction, and I started researching. And I found this shocking statistic that in a day, an average person spends or covers 400 meters scrolling their phone. That is 12 kilometers in 1 month and 144 kilometers in 1 year, more than 3 marathons. And most of us here in Africa, we are above average, so you can imagine what to do. So I came across this concept by a US professor called Dr. Cole Newport, who suggested this theory called digital minimalism in 2019. Actually, it is a book. He said that digital technology and social media are not bad, they are good, but it is how we use them that is bad. And so he suggested this 3-step process that I want to share with you today to help you tackle your digital addiction demons. The first step of digital minimalism is about diagnosing. Like any patient, before you're treated, you have to know what disease you're suffering from. So you diagnose what problem, how you're using your digital gadgets. Are you using them to your detriment, or are you using them to develop yourself? Most of us are using them to our detriment. And when you realize that you're using them to your detriment, you move to the step 2. And step 2 is painful. It involves doing away with digital gadgets if you can, completely from your life, and deleting these apps from your phone. And after this, you take a 30-day digital fast. And during this fast, you re-examine your life and you find your purpose in life. And after finding what your purpose in life is, maybe you want to build networks, you want to grow your business, you want to get jobs, you want to network. Step 3 involves reintroducing these gadgets, these social media apps to your life, but purposefully and slowly. That is what I did a few years ago. And today, I'm not fully free from digital addiction, but I've made a big stride in my journey towards combating digital addiction. Now, when my evaluator was introducing this speech, most of you thought I was going to speak about fire, because it is fire that is a bad master, but a bad servant. What is the relationship between fire and digital addiction? Well, digital addiction is itself fire. The proof is many careers that have been burnt to ashes because of digital addiction and social media. Many families have been burnt to ashes. Many marriages have been burnt to ashes. Many jobs, many careers, many businesses have been burnt to ashes because of digital addiction. The ant, I hope you know the ant. The ant is a small animal, but it has a very powerful antenna that can help it smell food from several kilometers away from where it is. But the problem with the ant is one: when it reaches the food, it starts going around the food, circling the food, and thinking that the more it goes around the food, the more it gets nearer to the food. But what it doesn't know is that it is getting further away from this food. And most ants, what happened to them? They die out of exhaustion, they give up, most of them die. Most of us here, we know what our purpose in life is. We know what our goals in life is. We know what we want to do with our lives. But like the ants, we go around those deadly circles, those vicious circles, those killer circles. And at the end of the day, we either give up, or we don't achieve our goals in life. You don't achieve our purpose in life. You don't have to be like the ant. Know what your goal is, know what your purpose is, get out of that circle and grab your goals and achieve them. Grab your purpose and achieve them. Technology is indeed a bad master, but a good servant. Social media is a good servant, a bad master. Depends on how you're using them. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, in conclusion, I want to urge you today to use technology and digital life to leverage your purpose, to help you achieve your purpose. And don't allow yourself to be a slave of technology and social media. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Fidel. Very interesting statistics. For me, the fact that 400 meters, I have achieved 400 meters today, just scrolling my phone, gives me a lot of solace, especially because I've been unable to start exercising regularly. So it's always a question of perspective, isn't it? Fellow Toastmasters and guests, as Toastmasters, we are obsessive about how we use and observe time. So I beg your pardon for not introducing our time masters earlier on, and I will do that immediately. We have 2 time masters with us in person today. So we're in for a treat. Our first timer is Rose. That can only be carried over.
Stop making demands. I don't know, because you're in 2022, 23, you think I'm making demands. Look at how you are.
What gets my goat?
I don't have nice teeth that are open. There, your auntie is single right now. She's chasing young boys because.
SAA, maybe if you could mute that. Thank you very much. This is life. Even when you're having a great time at a Toastmasters meeting, somebody has to get your goat and remind you that you still have the capacity to be irritated. Our timers for this evening are Rose Mwenje from Kwanza, Kenya Toastmasters Club, who's a tax analyst. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to rile this lady, please leave the cabinets and drawers in any room open. Then see how that is not her cup of tea. It happens to be her favorite idiom. Rose, will you please explain to us what you'll be doing with those interesting devices you have in hand?
Toastmasters of the day. And good evening, Toastmasters and guests. As the timer, I'll be timing the prepared speeches, the evaluations, and the table topic speeches. So for the evaluations, the speakers should take 2 to 3 minutes. So at 2 minutes, I'll raise the green flag. At 2 minutes, 30 seconds, I'll raise the yellow flag, of which this one looks like an orange flag. And at 3 minutes, I'll raise the red flag. And for the prepared speeches, the speech should take 5 to 7 minutes. At 5 minutes, I'll raise the green flag. At 6 minutes, I'll raise the orange, which is yellow flag. And at 7 minutes, I'll use the red flag. And for the table topic speeches, the speeches should be between 1 to 2 minutes. So at 1 minute, I'll raise the green flag. At 1 minute, 30 seconds, I'll use the yellow flag. And at 2 minutes, I'll be using the red flag. And at the end of the meeting, once called upon, I'm going to give my report. And I would really urge you guys to ensure that you are within the time limit so that you don't incommode anyone in the meeting.
Thank you very much. And Rose will be supported in this role by the second timer, Josephine Onwal from Karen Toastmasters Club. Whatever you do, do not yawn during this meeting because that gets her goat. So those of you who are online, you can get away with it, but not if you are here in person. Our second speaker is a gentleman who needs little or no introduction. He's also a Toastmaster. I have been privileged to work with, work under, and be supported by. He's a financial services professional in the savings and pension sectors. What gets his goat? People that speak confidently about topics they have no idea about. Jafet Musau, DTM, will be evaluated by Fatma Amir, who's joining us online. Over to you, Fatma Amir from Karen Toastmasters Club. Please give us the objectives of Jafet's project.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster of the evening. I have the pleasure of introducing distinguished Toastmaster Jafet Musau this evening. Jafet is undertaking a level 2 project 2 of effective coaching Perth. The purpose is twofold. The first is for Jafet to learn about different communication styles and identify his primary style. The second is for Jafet to share the impact of his style on others. Jafet has 5 to 7 minutes to deliver his speech. Jafet Musau, kindly introduce the title of your speech as you proceed. Over to you.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. The title of my speech is, This Is Me. Our neighbor, 70 years old, had a very bad habit. Every time you'd pass by her front yard, see her sitting there, basking in the sun, sniffing tobacco. Every time we'd pass there, she was there. And I would ask myself, hasn't anyone told her this is harmful? Or maybe they are afraid of upsetting her. Every day we'd pass there, and then one day, my elder brother Julius and I were passing by, and as usual, nothing new, she was there, sitting at a front yard, sniffing tobacco, sneezing. I said, this is it. I've had it. Without notice, all of a sudden, I turned and I went straight towards her house. And I grabbed the tin of tobacco from her hand and said to her, hasn't anyone told you what you're doing is dangerous? Do you know this can kill you? Do you want to die? I was only 6 years old. As early as then, my style of communication was already showing. During the preparation for this project, I undertook a survey to discover my communication style. And I was not surprised when it came out as direct. My secondary communication style was analytical. As a direct communicator, I discovered that I am goal-oriented, I am focused, and I am competitive. That explains, fellow Toastmasters and guests, why I've always participated in contests for the last 8 years, year in, year out, and music to the ears of current and future VPEs, I'm not about to stop. As a direct communicator, I also found out that I am focused on specifics, and as I communicate to other people, I may come across as demanding or impatient. For you to be in my good books, for you to be in my good books, number one, get to the point. Don't beat about the bush, whether it's the right bush or not. Just get to the point. Number two, I like succinct and specific people. And number three, only give me details when I ask you. Stick to the facts, no details, only give me details when I ask you. To my secondary communication style, analytical. I discovered as an analytical communicator, I come across as organized and focused. As an analytical communicator, I may come across as a perfectionist. It is advised, if you are an analytical communicator, do a little bit networking. In the process, your diplomatic style will show. As an analytical communicator, I tend to be attention detailed, but I am also diplomatic. But this diplomatic style doesn't show up until I get to talk to people, network with them, and then they discover, despite my focus on details, I'm also diplomatic about how I request for information. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, why is it important for us to understand our communication styles? It is because our communication styles have an impact on the people that we interact with. When I understand my strengths, I can capitalize on them. When I understand my weaknesses, I can work on them and reduce them. For example, after going through this questionnaire, I now understand that I need to network more, be a more people person, and in the process, my diplomatic style, which is inherent in me but doesn't show up because I'm demanding, I focus on details, I don't like a lot of stories, but when I network with people, my diplomatic style will come out. As I develop my communication and leadership skills to the next level, I will take the lessons that I have learned so that I can become a better communicator and a better leader, capitalizing on my strengths, working on my weaknesses, and being the leader that I intend to be. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
I, having known Japheth for about 9 years as a Toastmaster, can attest to the fact that everything he has said today about his communication style and his leadership style is true. I'm just asking myself, so I tend to speak a lot. I can beat about the bush, give a lot of details. So is this why he has always supported me to just get me over and out of his space? Because I tend not to be succinct always. Thank you very much, Japheth. Self-awareness, and especially as communicators, as Toastmasters, how we communicate and how that impacts the ability of our messages to land and relationships to be fostered. Very, very important.
Mafuta baadaye. That itakuwa inaanguka inafika huko ina magoti.
The moral of the story here is be very careful about the theme you choose for your meeting. Be very careful, lest it plays out before you as the Toastmaster of the day. Our third and final speaker for this prepared speeches segment is our club treasurer, that's Kwanza Kenya Toastmasters Club, Wendy Adamba. Now, when Wendy is not hard at work as a social and behavior change practitioner, she enjoys a little bit of rumba. But woe betides you if you are the kind of person who toes with your mouth wide open and makes smacking and slapping sounds with your food. Please keep a safe distance from this lady. Wendy will be evaluated this evening by Iso Riaro, who's joining us online. Iso, kindly share with us the objectives of Wendy's speech.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster. Wendy's speech, I'll just briefly tackle the speech. Wendy is attempting the speech title is The Leader Want to Be. This is the leadership path. And the purpose of this speech for the project is for the member is to identify his or primary leadership style or style. The purpose of this speech is for the member to share some aspects of his or her primary leadership style or to discuss styles in general. The speech time is 5 to 7 minutes. So the title again is The Leader I Want to Be from the leadership track. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Evaluator Iso Riaro. May I ask during your evaluation to just maybe try and speak without the earphones? It sounds very muted, so we can hear you, but we do not get the objectives of the speech clearly. However, Wendy, over to you. I did get the bit about you speaking on your leadership style. Wendy Adamba, around
Good evening, Kwanzanites, Karenites, and visiting guests. Allow me to present my speech today titled, The Leader I Want to Be. Are leaders born or are leaders made? I know we have different opinions as to whether leaders are made or born. And these opinions are influenced by our experiences, what we are taught in school, or the people we interact with, especially if you interact with leaders on a day-to-day basis. Regardless of what you believe in, I know we all have opportunities to improve our leadership qualities and leadership styles to become even more desirable leaders. As we grew through the different stages of life, we must have interacted with people whom we looked upon or we still look upon to guide our leadership steps. History, on the other hand, has provided and documented different scholarly articles that enable us to study different world leaders that again impact our lives. it is no wonder that so many years down the line, we still talk about these leaders. Talk about Mahatma Gandhi, a great pursuer of peace. Talk about Nelson Mandela. Talk about Martin Luther King Jr., who was a great pursuer of civic rights and a transformational leader. Now let's come back home. Talk about the late Professor Wangari Maathai, the feminist and environmentalist. I know we all read about her and we had a lot of admiration about her. Talk about the former president, Mwai Kibaki. We all agree that when he came into power, he made some changes in this beloved country of ours. Talk about you and me. I know we are leaders in our various positions, back at home, in our societies, at our places of work, in clubs like Toastmasters. But I want to give you a very good example of a leader who is less celebrated. Picture this. You're going into a very high-level meeting and you know you are late, you have very few minutes to get to that meeting. And then boom, all of a sudden, a deafening sound. It's an accident. And all of a sudden, all cars have come to a stop. They can't move, you can't go ahead, and you can't move back. Now picture this. There is this person, I know you can all relate, that there's this one person who volunteers. And I'm not talking about the traffic police officer. This person who's probably in a shady, ragged jeans and probably wearing a faded Arsenal t-shirt, who comes and tries and controls traffic until everything gets back to moving. And so you get to your place of work or to a high-level meeting in good time, maybe just late a bit, but someone rescued the position. That is a situational leader, less celebrated, but they came out and controlled the traffic. Looking back, I was privileged to be given leadership positions from when I was very young. And that time, I didn't even have an idea of what leadership is. From a prefect of, say, class 1 to all the way to high school to campus. But that time, I really didn't know what was supposed to be done, especially in the primary level and in high school. I remember with nostalgia the different opportunities that I got just as a leader to go and interact with great leaders and learn from them. I also remember how decisions as a leader made me unpopular at school. For example, when I was a dorm captain in high school, at 4:45 a.m. when sleep is, when you're getting to sleep early in the morning, it's probably raining, and then Wendy is there as the dorm captain, waking you up to go for morning preps, and you're like, what is this? But you have no choice because the dorm captain is standing right beside your bed and you have to go for morning preps. Right now, when we sit in those alumni meetings, we have no option but to just laugh about those experiences. And I know some of them say, you really helped me as a prefect because had I slept really, I don't know where I would be right now. Different scholars have documented the different leadership styles, and I know we are all familiar with them. Talk of bureaucratic leadership style, authoritative, democratic, coaching, to mention but a few. And today, again, I don't want to bore you about the different definitions. The same scholars or different scholars have also come up with different leadership skills again, if when employed, then makes someone a very good leader. So for example, they talk about leading by example, they talk about integrity, they talk about openness and great communication skills. I know we are all leaders at different levels of life. And so sometimes I just sit back and ask myself, what kind of a leader am I as Wendy? I tend to be inclined more towards democratic leadership style and employ it with coaching. Why? Because I work with a team of very young people, very vibrant, right from campus, who are very energetic and innovative and come with a lot of energy to the workplace. And so my role is to give them an opportunity to air their views and also to guide them along the way as they work. At home, I'm a mother of 3, and they look upon me to guide them in various ways. Most of us who have children in this generation, you'll agree with me that these children are very open, and they will ask you, Mom, you didn't say that. Why are you doing this? And that is what, and you wonder again at that. So I tend again to lead by example because they see what I do and they take that as leadership. So as I sit down again and I grow older, I ask myself, what kind of a leader do I want to be moving forward? Looking at myself now and in future, I want to be the kind of leader people will talk about. If we still remember Professor Wangari Maathai, long after she died, I want to be that particular leader that people can talk about. I want to be a leader that influences people's lives. I want to be a leader that transforms people's lives. I want to be a leader that transforms societies. I want to hold people's hands and lead them in the right way. And so my question to you people, good friends, is what kind of a leader are you? Are we getting mentorship from people to become great leaders? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wendy. Passionately delivered. I was sitting there in my chair asking myself, what kind of leader do I want to be, until you threw that line about a faded Arsenal t-shirt. And I am a Ghana supporter, so we shall take this offline. Ladies and gentlemen, we have heard from our prepared speakers, and we now have an opportunity to vote for the best speaker out of the three. Fidel Owiti was our first speaker, followed by Japheth Musau, DTM, and our third speaker, Wendy Adamba. Please vote for the best speaker. Are we launching the poll online? So please vote for the best speaker, and those who are at United Kenya Club, the basket, there's a little basket going around where you can cast your ballot. Now, it is said that fortune favors the brave-hearted, and the brave-hearted look like the 20 or so people in this room who braved the rains and now can enjoy a cup of tea and a mandazi on Kwanza's account. The rest of you, please sort yourselves out in your kitchens, and let's be back in 3 minutes. We do not want to incommode any of the speakers in the segments that will follow after the break. So let's keep a hard stop at 3 minutes from now. Those in the room, make a quick dash to the refreshment table for a cuppa. See you shortly. Like I don't know can I do because I'm going it takes 2 minutes. So yeah. Oh, yeah, sure, that's fine. I normally do the same thing. I know what's maximum. No problem. Welcome back after the break. Like I said, those who are fortunate to have braved the rain, mandazis are going down delightfully at United Kenya Club. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move on to our second segment of our Toastmasters meeting, which is the table topics session. To lead this session is the Vice President Education of Kwanza, Pascalia Maingi, who, of course, when saying what gets her goat, was not referring to any Toastmasters, because the people who do not respond to communication are not found in Toastmasters. Her favorite idiom is playing it by ear. Let us warmly welcome Pascalia Maingi for the table topic section.
Hello, Toastmasters, yes, and every one of you, Quantanites and Karenites, as I'm hearing them being called. No, there is nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, as frustrating, awkward, and downright embarrassing as when being called upon to deliver a speech or to give a somewhat intelligent response to a question, and all you can do is mutter incoherently. In there, done that, yeah? Okay, well, Toastmasters has given us a chance to learn how to avoid these pitfalls through this segment of impromptu speaking, or in other words, table topics. I will be calling on random persons, both the Toastmasters and the guests, not to incommode any one of you, but simply to give you an opportunity to respond to my impromptu questions within 1 to 2 minutes. Do not be disappointed. My first question is, you are at a luncheon and the man seated right next to you keeps on slurping their soup, and that really kicks you off. What would you say to him? I pose this question to Gerald Oko, GTM.
Have you ever heard about a storm in a teacup? This was a storm in a bowl of soup. When this gentleman brought the soup over to me, I looked at it and I said, my goodness, what's this in the soup? And we looked very closely, and it was a fly. So I asked him, why do we have this in the soup? And he said, just take the soup and leave it there because the fly is not in the bill. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll find yourself many times when you have to swim across the river, infested with many, many things like crocodiles, dead frogs, but the determination is to get across. So what is it that you do with your life? You'll find a life that is full of many things that you need to deal with. It could be running a meeting smoothly like we are running, or it could be anything you're doing, including preparing for an Arsenal game. But ask yourself, what do I want to achieve at the end of this? Remember, in life, you'll be faced with awkward situations that requires you to wake up to the reality that you need to bring your best and put your best foot forward. So think about it. So in that soup, how many soups have you found yourself in? And have you swum out of it? You can, or you can die. So go souping. Back to you.
Thank you very much, DTM Jared. My next question is, you're walking along the streets one day and you happen to bump into your old math teacher who made your life in school a living hell. Walking up to him, what did you tell him? Patrick.
Maths was never my preference. In standard 1, in standard 2, up to standard 8, I hated it. But I met my maths teacher on Koinange Street one day, and he told me, you used to be a very bright student of mine. And I told him, no, you are lying. I never liked maths, but it so happened after my Form 4, went Form 5, I found myself in the university doing Bachelor of Commerce, which is basically mathematics. Today, I'm known in this town as one of the best accountants in Nairobi. Basically saying, I am one of the best mathematicians in Nairobi. Thank you.
Not being good in math did not incommode him at all. The next question is, what is that one thing that really irritates you, which other people, surprisingly, are very comfortable with? Anne, from Karen. Imagine it's a friend
Let's relax. Let's just sit. And do your 45 there waiting. At 6, like, okay, let me be patient. 6:10, where are you? Give me 5 minutes, I'm coming. 6:20, where are you again? I'm on the way, just give me a few minutes. At 6:40, the person is like, I'm not coming, something has come up. That thing makes me pissed. Because I'm always thinking, if you are not coming, if other things came up, if you have just stayed in good enough in advance, I'm not available, something has come up, give me an hour, 2 hours, and then I have to plan myself. So I think generally in our society, we have made time or lack of consciousness of time a normal thing, but it should not be normal. The norm reflects your time. Then the abnormal thing should be late. But now these days it's the opposite. Yeah, so that's the thing that just gets me. Yeah, thank you.
You're driving in the crazy Nairobi highway, and suddenly a crazy Nairobi driver cuts right in, and there you are. Get out of your car. I wonder what you would tell him. Sarah Gemu. I would first stare at the person and wonder, why on earth do you not want to adhere to the traffic rules? Now, being the loud man that I normally am, such incidences are no longer funny to me. One of the reasons being that recently and coincidentally, about 2 years ago, I happened to be a victim of an accident because of somebody's foolishness on the road. An accident that left me sparked and got me into depression for a while. So I would just get out of the car, stare at the person, look at him in such a manner that he would realize that he has been the fool. And maybe, just maybe, from my stare, without uttering a single word, they would realize that they should never, ever make such a mistake. But my last question. When observing leaders, be they political or otherwise, communicating in public, what is it that they do or say that makes you want to pull your hair? Maggie Njenga, online. I can give the same question to Helen Rintari in person.
Thank you. Mommy, I think I'm going to be a better politician. Actually, I would like to be the president. That was my daughter last year, and this was an actual conversation. I said, why? She said, can they just tell the truth? Can't they just tell the truth? I think I listen to a politician, and most of the time, I want to pull my hair out. Simple etiquette, simple truth. We don't have money we do not have. We don't have jobs for young people. Maybe we do, but they are not what you're saying. Tell us how to make them. Make the regimes okay, and tell us about the process. but you cannot be a leader that an 18-year-old will question. It is simply wrong. What do politicians say that I want to pull my hair off? Everything, just about everything. And I think I will be maybe the next woman rep. I'll be better. I'll be better.
Thank you very much. I hope I didn't incommode any one of you speakers, but as you can see, table topics, it's nothing hard. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Pascalia. That was a very refreshing session. Indefatigable, indomitable, and inspiring are just some of the few adjectives that I can use to describe our next speaker. She is a human rights lawyer and international development practitioner. And what gets her goats, I think, as we all know by now, is mediocrity. It is our plum privilege and pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to have in our midst this evening none other than District 114 Director, Emilia Sewingwa DTM, as she delivers her tip session. Let us give her a rousing round of applause.
Hello, Kwanza, Kenya. Hello, Karen. I am thrilled to be here. I am loving this meeting. I am loving the vibes, the atmosphere, and just watching all of you. You're the Toastmasters that I've come to see and know through online interaction. What an honor, what a privilege. Having said that, and not to incommode you, I want to challenge you today. I want to challenge everyone who is online, everyone who's here in the room, to rise to the occasion. Another pet peeve of mine is when we walk amongst ourselves, we say, Toastmasters, where leaders are made. Where leaders are made. But what does that really mean? I would love for us to really interrogate that question. What does it mean to be a Toastmaster within our ecosystem? And what does it mean to be a Toastmaster in the world at large? Truly, what does it really mean? This is our safe space. This is where we come together and we sail forward. That's the point. But once we've sailed forward, once we've grown, and once we become confident communicators and effective leaders, and then what? Ponder the question. Not just because I'm here, I exit once, but as Toastmasters who will continue to be Toastmasters long after I've been a district director. What does it mean? Emilia, this is depressing. We wanted you to come and lift our spirits. I'll get there. But it's high time that as Toastmasters, we really think very carefully about what it means to be who we are. 3 years into my Toastmasters journey, almost to the day, I was to deliver my distinguished Toastmaster speech. I had sat long and hard and thought, what project would I undertake? Should it be something within Toastmasters? Or should I really demonstrate the leader I have become in some way, shape, or form? I chose to do a project in my father's homestead in the Southern Highlands of Tanzania, where there's abject poverty, where school and the education system is a real problem, where potable water and access to it is a challenge, where the ability for a farmer to be able to get a return on their investment is not a practical reality. So I decided to visit. I had a conversation with some of the community leaders. That's the privilege we get when we can communicate. And I said, I'd like to help you develop a roadmap. One, on how farmers can get to market. Two, on how the schools can come up with innovations, creative solutions to the challenges that they have. And three, how my father's village can think about how they can access potable water for everyone. They looked at me and asked, are you aspiring for political leadership? Unfortunately, the last time that we had parliamentary elections, my dad did vie, and I said, no, I'm not following in his footsteps. I'm here as a Toastmaster. Oh, what's that? I'm in a platform where I'm told that when I engage and commit myself, I become a leader. And I want to demonstrate that in the realest of senses. And I want to work with you to come up with a viable plan. That was my DTM project. And when I delivered my speech, I spoke about the roadmap I had developed together with the community leaders of Msangano. And I thought, wow, I just contributed to something real. As a Toastmaster, you've already heard I'm a human rights lawyer. I do things every day. You've already heard I'm an international development specialist, so I'm doing real things every day. But what does being a Toastmaster really mean? And how does that translate to the community at large? Why does it matter that we are Toastmasters? I ask this question with frustration because when you go into the community and you ask, do you know Rotary? Do you know the Lions? Do you know Toastmasters? The governor of Kisumu, who I happened to meet over the weekend through Kisumu Toastmasters Club, asked, so do you drink beer? He eventually fell in love with the idea and the concept, but that's the reality. Who are we? We love each other as a family. I can't tell you how full my heart is to be here with you. But who are we out there? How can we make a difference out there? So my challenge to you is rise to the occasion. I don't have all the solutions, but I have a couple of ideas. How about your next high performance leadership project or your next distinguished Toastmasters project? Go beyond planning a division conference. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with basing your distinguished Toastmaster project on that. But how about we push the boundary so that it really means something to be a distinguished Toastmaster, to have been someone who has undertaken a high performance level project? How about that? Or how about our socials, every now and again, taking on a community-facing component? How about running table topics in a hospital? Making people smile, have a good time with us, so that they understand what we do at Toastmasters and that we care about them. Or how about really challenging our vice presidents for public relations? Beyond the wonderful flyers we've all learned to produce through Kwanza, and they're beautiful, keep them coming. But how about we treat every day like a DD visit? When I was an elder, they did an amazing job of publicizing that meeting. We have potentially 3 new clubs coming up. Thank you so much. We had the governor. How about we really think about our public relations in a serious way, so that people understand what it is that we do and why it matters, that this is where leaders are made. Emilia, you're depressing us. I don't want to, but it's sitting heavy on my heart. How can we make a difference at this stage in our district, after the phenomenal start through Distinguished Toastmaster Rosie, on to Distinguished Toastmaster Harry, on to the magic of Distinguished Toastmaster Gladys, and on to Distinguished Toastmaster Anthony? What next? And it doesn't have to be now, but to the teams to come, to the leaders to come. What does it mean to be a Toastmaster? Let's rise to the challenge. Let's innovate solutions. But please, let's find a way to make a real difference, not just for ourselves, but to everyone out there. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Palpable passion, yeah, does not come stronger than that. Let us rise. Let's make the experience count beyond the comfort zone of our clubs, our divisions, and even the district. We heard you, Emilia. We are privileged to have received this message in person from you. So sowing the seeds. Let's take stock a year from now, all of us in this room, and just keep asking ourselves, how have we risen to the call? It now gives me great pleasure to lead this meeting to the evaluation section. Anne-Marie Hotailing of the Millionaire Girls Movement reminds us that feedback is free education to excellence. Seek it with sincerity and receive it with grace. Our first evaluator who will be giving feedback on Fidel Owiti's speech is a software engineer who gets absolutely riled by people chewing loudly with their mouths open or slurping their tea or drinks. Over to you, Edwin Kaduki, as you deliver your evaluation.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, again, I apologize for my lack of video as Kenya Power has incommoded me tonight, and I'm doing this in the dark. Fidel, a very well done speech. I liked your choice of topic, bad master, good servant, as it touched on a subject that incommodes many of us from being at our best. We get distracted so easily by the terrible master called technology. Technology is indeed a bad master and a good servant. And I loved how you told the story about how we could get it back in control. I'll definitely seek to put your tips to practice with the objective of shaking off the shackles of this horrible master. As mentioned, I loved your choice of topic. I also appreciated your command of the stage and the deliberate and rushed pace of your speech. I also loved the fact that you are not stiff and used your arms and movements to good effect. Regarding gestures, I also noticed that you imitated the ant encircling your food. Things that I noticed that you may want to work on is to vary your gestures and movements a bit more. Try and match what you're talking about, just like you did with the ant circling their food. For example, you talked about scrolling through social media, and you could have taken that opportunity to actually make the scrolling gesture. As you spoke about 3 steps, you should have also raised 3 fingers to emphasize that point. I think you get my point. Just add some more movements and gestures to add some drama and verve to your speech. In summary, I loved your speech, and if you challenge yourself to add this variety and dramatic effect to your next speech, I believe this will serve you well. Well done once again. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Edwin Kaduki, for that comprehensive feedback. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask for your pardon. I do not mean to incommode you, but I'll take you back one step to the table topic session and ask you to please vote for the best table topic speaker. Please vote for the best table topic speaker. First speaker was perhaps the table topics master can assist me. The second speaker was Patrick. Then we had Anne Mutwiri, Sarah Adhiambo, and a final speaker was Helen. So we have Jared, we had Patrick, we had Anne Mutwiri, we had Sarah Adhiambo, and Helen Rintari. Please vote for the best table topic speaker. Our second evaluator, whom I erroneously introduced as a member of Karen Toastmasters, is actually from SEMA Toastmasters Club. And we thank you, SEMA, for adding the sprinkling to our cake today. Fatima Amio gets absolutely ticked off when a speaker doesn't finish saying, doesn't complete their statements and then looks at you and waits for you to finish the statements for them. Absolutely irritating for Fatma. And her favorite idiom is sitting on the fence. Fatma, please give us your evaluation of Japheth Musau DTM's delivery.
Thank you very much. Japheth, as you capitalize on your communication styles to be the leader that you want to be, I observed that you met the purpose of your speech. You informed us that your primary communication style is a direct communicator and your secondary style is analytical communicator. Further, I also picked that you shared with us the impact of your communication styles, and you mentioned that you may be perceived at times to be demanding, impatient, as well as a perfectionist. What stood out for me were 3 things. The first was that I loved that you took us down memory lane to the 6-year-old Japheth, who directly and confidently question whether that older man wanted to die. When we use personal stories, we are able to actually engage our audience. And I love that you used it at the very start. This was a beautiful way to capture our attention. The second thing that stood out for me was that I observed your speech was full of gems. It had so many things, and I felt that the title was apt because that was Japhet. I love that it had a very beautiful structure, which enabled all the gems to fit in beautifully. Fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests, the structure of our speech really helps us to ensure that we are able to take our audience who are paying attention right from the start to the very end. The third was that I enjoyed the humor in your speech. I noted the subtle jokes that you threw in from the time you started off with the sneeze and the story. You took us through and told us about the participation in contests, and that was music to any vice president education. And then you talked about going straight to the point, avoiding all bushes. I felt that that was particularly funny. A proposal that you could use to take the speech to the next level was perhaps you may want to consider being more purposive in use of your gestures. When we use too many gestures, we can actually incommode our audience. I propose that you take a pause and figure out whether the gesture would be apt. I felt that there were some gestures which were repeated, which was not very clear on exactly what the intention was. Overall, I enjoyed listening to your speech. I love the use of personal stories, the structure and the humor. I look forward to your next speech. Over to you, Madam Toastmaster of the evening.
Thank you very much, Fatma Amir from SEMA Toastmasters Club, for that insightful and incisive evaluation. Our final evaluator for this segment is a long-standing Toastmaster from Kwanza, Kenya, Iso Riaro. This is a man who has little tolerance for humans who do not honor their promises. And his favorite idiom is biting off more than you can chew. So don't bite off more than you can chew so you can honor your promises to Iso. He will be evaluating Wendy Adamba, who was our third speaker. Over to you, Iso.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster. Wendy Adamba, first, congratulations for successfully delivering your speech tonight. That's the objective of every speaker, to speak before public and to deliver their message. I'll briefly recap on the speech objectives because I was made to understand it was not very clear at the start. Wendy Adamba was attempting level 2, project 1, under the innovative planning part. She was speaking to us on leadership, and her speech title was The Leader I Want to Be. And her task was to share with us her primary leadership style. Wendy, what did you excel at? I like this couple of points. The first is you came across as very well prepared. You're very well prepared. You did not use notes. And the fact that you did not use notes enabled you to maintain a good eye contact with an audience. And preparation is one of the hallmarks of a good speaker. So you're very well prepared. And you use the eye contact to convey emotion and to connect with the audience. So very well done on that. The second key thing that I liked, and you asked me to look out for this, was gesture, use of gesture. I liked how you use your hands to emphasize points. For instance, when you bumped into your fist, that conveyed a good sense of urgency. So I felt your gestures were appropriate for the audience size tonight. So well done on the use of gesture. The third thing that I liked also was the fact that your speech had a very clear general objective. One of the objectives tonight that you used was you speaking to inform, and you're informing us about leadership and specifically your leadership style. And we got to learn that you have a bias for democratic leadership style because you work with young people. Well done on that. Now, how could you improve your speech, or how could you ice your cake? One is use of pause. I felt that you hardly use a pause in your speech. So consider adding pauses to your speech. One, pauses are very important because one, they give you an opportunity as a speaker to transition, use pauses for transition, gives you an opportunity as a speaker to breathe and catch your breath, and also for the audience to digest the point. So kindly consider using pauses in your speech to enhance your speech effectiveness. What could you challenge yourself on? One is the specific objectives, the way you structured your speech. What are your specific objectives? Think about the 3 things that you like the audience, or 2 or 3 things that the audience to remember, and then to reinforce them with the facts. You spoke about the leadership style, but I would have loved if you could have thought about picking a few points and reinforcing them with facts, quotes, and statistics. You told us you like the democratic style. The question is why? It would have been good to bring that out in your speech. As I conclude, I really enjoyed your speech, and I like the way you use the rhetorical questions throughout the speech, and that made the speech memorable and helped to keep the message clear in our mind, because you kept asking, what kind of leader would I want to be? At the end, you twisted it and asked, what kind of leader would you like to be? Bringing in a call to action. I'm out of time. Congratulations. I really enjoyed your speech. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Isto. That evaluation was delivered with ease and excellence. Ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, I'll ask you kindly to please vote for the best evaluator. Our first evaluator was Edwin Kaduki. Our second evaluator, Fatma Amio. And our final evaluator, who has just completed the segment, is Iso Riaro. It now gives me great pleasure to welcome our general evaluator who will be joining us online. She will be presiding over the presentation of reports. If you want a shoe on your head, or if you want her to punch you in the stomach, please be absent-minded when Maureen Muturi is speaking to you. And then take it further and have the audacity to ask her to repeat. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a rounding applause for Maureen Muturi from Karen Toastmasters Club.
Thank you so much, Angela, Toastmaster of the evening. It gives me great pleasure to be your general evaluator. So I will be calling upon reports, and thereafter I shall give my general evaluation. My role began way before the meeting, observing the preparedness, the intensity of the meeting, and how the roles were executed. So I will start with the hack master, Candy Mwabila. Kindly give your report.
Good evening once again. I'm sure I elaborated clearly my role for this evening. Now, this is going to be a very fun Hackmaster session. What I'm going to do, no musical chairs, something of the sort. Unfortunately, if you're online, you'll be missing out on this. Please make sure you come to the physical meeting next time. Thank you. It will be passing around the table. Stop each question. Dancing, get up and drive. Please. Stand up and read it. Please. Fantastic. Let's keep it going. Read it. Mm-hmm. Easy. I am sure that's not what you say. Fantastic. Let's keep it going. Does anyone remember the two leadership styles at McGill? Yes, please go ahead. Democratic, fantastic. There you go. You go ahead. You go ahead. Just something else. Yeah. Actually. Yes, just appoint someone, read it, and just call on someone to assist you. I can see everyone calculating. Does anyone remember? 1 foot. I hear people saying 244. It is 144 kilometers. Thank you, Madam Tiudi. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Kendi. You're missing out because you're not here. Over to you, GE, for the rest of the reports.
Thank you so much, energetic Kendi. All I could see were your facial expressions and your dance moves, and had no idea what is happening. But yes, we have been challenged to make it to the physical meeting next time. Our grammarian Anne Mutweri, kindly give your reports in 2 minutes. Point of order, Anne, I can barely hear you.
Move to your right.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Sorry, apologies for that. Like I was saying, the word of the day was incommode. It was relatively well used, a total of 13 times, which is very good. And also beautiful use of the English language. I must commend the, Madam Toastmaster of the day. She did a very good job in promoting beautiful use of the English language. I will not go into the details. We were all listening. Also, the different speakers, Fidel, you did well. Japheth, you also did well. Pascalina, you also did well when you were doing the typical topic session. So generally, there was very good use of the English language. Because of time, I'll not go into the details, but I can summarize and maybe post it on the WhatsApp group. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anne. That would be in order. Our accountant, kindly give your report.
Thank you, distinguished Toastmasters. Many crutch words. The first speaker I noted was Fidel Owiti, who had 2 R's. I'll go keyword by keyword. The second R was from Esau, Wendy. Those were the only R's. Then the R's, that is ER, from Esau and also Wendy. Fidel Owiti also had a repeat of the word so, where he was using it as the beginning of a sentence. And that was as far as those keywords were used. When I come to repeat, we had your from Fidel, and then Esau, this is Wendy had is your, is there. Patrick had after my, Anne had so I think, and there. Now, anytime you have the attention of the audience, you can use several tools, one of which is to slow down your pace and collect your thoughts. The second one is to be prepared beforehand. When you master your speech or your role, the moment you get to this point, it will be easier for you to avoid unnecessary crutch words. I encourage you to avoid checking the bridge so that people can understand you better. A more elaborate report will be shared from the recording done by my virtual assistant, Yudli. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Terence, and for those points. Our timer, kindly give your report.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Good evening once more. Let me proceed to give my report. For the prepared speeches, everyone was within time. Fidel Owiti, it took 6 minutes, 25 seconds. Jafed Musau, 6 minutes, 12 seconds. Wendy Adamba, 6 minutes, 29 seconds. For the table topics, DTM, Jared Ouko, took 1 minute, 38 seconds. Patrick Njeru took 57 seconds. And Sarah Odhiambo took 1 minute, 7 seconds. And Helen Rintari took 1 minute, 14 seconds. So, for the table topics, it's only Patrick Njeru who was way just below time. Next time we just speak 3 more seconds so that you can attain the 1 minute. And now for the evaluators, Edwin Kaduki took 2 minutes, 17 seconds. Fatma Amio took 3 minutes, 4 seconds. And Iso Riaro took 3 minutes, 14 seconds. So for the Fatma and Sao were beyond time, just by a few seconds, and Edwin Kaduki was within time. Thank you, and back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much for that succinct report. And for my report, I'll try to keep it short and sweet in order to avoid incommoding anyone. I must say that this was a well-prepared meeting, considering that it was a hybrid meeting. There was lots of preparedness from the WhatsApp group, and the roles that were picked up until last week, the agenda was out by yesterday. So I must admit that this was a really planned out hybrid meeting, and also considered all the techie issues that we may experience in the middle of the meeting. Sergeant at Arms, you posted naming protocol in the chat, which is a good thing. Shared the modus operandi aptly, and also encouraged those on Zoom to put on their videos. Encourage the SA to find a system for those who people kept interrupting, and maybe have a system in where as people are joining, they are muted to avoid the distractions when speakers are presenting. For the Toastmaster of the evening, Angela Raria, you did an absolutely amazing job. I love your energy. You're the one who brought the vibe to the meeting, which is highly contagious. The vibe starts from there and can easily replicate. So it's usually important to start on a high note. There was lots of interaction, even in the WhatsApp group, and confirmed who is in person and online. For the grammarian, had posters for the physical meeting and also posted on the chat. For the accountant, it was a great illustration about the bridge while introducing your role. It was a nice visual thing to think about when you use the crutches, what it actually does to your communication and how it incommodes effective communication. For the timekeeper, I just noted one thing. I think once you flash the time cards, it would stay on for the entire time. So maybe just leave it there for 5 seconds for the speaker to be able to have seen it and then exit the sharing screen to avoid the distraction. Table topics, well thought out questions. I loved that they were very deep and brought out very apt answers. I'd encourage you to also encourage guests to participate. I noticed that most of them were Toastmasters. At the same time, if someone already has a role, maybe give the chance to someone who does not have a role for that particular day. The attendance was amazing, both online and physical. This was a greatly well panned out meeting. District Director Emilia, thank you very much for your tip session. It is a nice thing to think about what we as Toastmasters mean when we are outside there. So I greatly enjoyed that. Our speakers, technology, bad master, good servant. The effect of communication styles we have learned. And a great reflective question is, what leader do I want to be? Evaluators, you had apt and succinct evaluations. And I also love the fact that you had tips to the audience who are also Toastmasters, who can use them for their speeches, which is very important. Otherwise, it has been a pleasure to be your general evaluator, and let's do this again. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day, of the evening.
Thank you very much, Maureen Muturi. Before I give my parting shot, I would like to invite the chair of Toastmasters in East Africa Conference. If you're a new Toastmaster, you want to listen to this. If you're an old Toastmaster, you must listen to this. If you're a guest wondering what we are all about, you absolutely have to tune in and listen to this. Without further ado, Sarah Adhiambo, please come and talk to us.
TCON 2023, you must have all heard about the vibes on vibes and the buzz that has been going on from one WhatsApp group to another, from one social media to another. So in just about 26 days, TCON 2023. And for those who are wondering, I've had some people, what is this TCON? Are we going to be eating tea and scone? No, TCON is Toastmasters in East African Conference that brings 6 of the countries within the East African region: Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Ethiopia, which other one have I mentioned? Rwanda and Burundi, our newest kid on the block. Here we gather around in the month of May to celebrate a lot of things: fun, networking, and a plethora of other activities such as listening to keynote speeches from industry captains, and just to demonstrate how big and how fun TCON 2023 is going to be. You saw what happened in this small little room, the Hack Master session, the Tingle where we got to eat mandazi and tea. So imagine that magnified. Swahili dishes, moonlight walks by the ocean, coupled by, should I continue? We are talking about helicopter rides and boat rides. And if you have that lady or that gentleman that you have been meaning to propose to, TCON 2023 is just the place that you would want to do this. Happening from 19th of May to the 21st of May in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, with the cocktail happening at Red Cliff Sea Hotel, that is on the 19th, and followed by the main conference on Saturday, which is 20th, happening, and followed by the next day gala dinner. I think some of you have already started seeing the poster going around. And if you are a fashionista like I am, you have already started thinking, where will I wear? I need to visit my tailor. So all that is happening from the 19th to the 21st of May, hosted by Tanzania. And we are looking forward to Toastmasters from across not just East Africa, from across the globe to gather around so that we can celebrate, especially after a hiatus of 3 years. We've not met in person since 2019 when this happened in Kampala, all right? So we want to bring this to life. Let's all pack our bags and let's converge in Tanzania in the next 26 days and celebrate. Madam Didi here has told us it's time to rise to the occasion. So Toastmasters in District 114, it's time to rise to the occasion. We'd love all of you to come to Dar es Salaam. The conference fee and the gala dinner will be at going for $110. Depending on your mode of transport or accommodation, you may need roughly $500 going forward just to converge with the rest of the Toastmasters and create lovely memories. Wouldn't we love that? Yeah. How many of us here in this room have already bought the early bird tickets? Let me see, how many? Let's start with the Kwanza nights. Don't disappoint me. Only 2 Kwanza nights. I know there are some Kwanza nights who have promised to make payment before the early bird ticket expires, which is tomorrow at 11:59. So you have slightly over 24 hours to do that. So come on, let us all rally and let us campaign to attend TCON 2023, not just as Toastmasters, but also invite non-Toastmasters. For more details, keep looking out in your WhatsApp groups, on the socials, invite a buddy, pay for a buddy, and let's go and have fun in Dar in the next couple of weeks, isn't it? Yeah. Thank you very
much, Sarah. If you miss TCON, that's your problem. If you miss TCON and have to experience it through photo links, that's your problem. You have 24 hours to take advantage of the early bird offer and get those tickets. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish at this juncture to thank you most sincerely for being an enthralling and exciting audience. My question this evening echoes the sentiments of our district director. Will you rise to the occasion and go beyond the comfort zone of your Toastmasters Club to impact community and society through your Toastmasters experience? Will you deliver impactful messages by infusing idioms, many of which we have used this evening, in your language, so as to carry your audience along with you? Will you stop getting other people's goats by raising your social and emotional intelligence? The choice to move the needle, that is, to make a change that has impact, is in your hands. And now I wish to hand over the meeting to the president of Karen Toastmasters, Betty Okere.
Thank you. A round of applause to our we all agree that that was a job well done. Excellent. Actually, we were looking for the next mode for current Toastmasters virtual meeting. You don't have to travel. You'll not be incommoded by the rain. Please, you are our next Toastmaster of the day. Thank you. She has accepted. The district director says she has a meeting at 9 o'clock and she's worried about the traffic because when she was trying to make it here, the traffic and the rain incommoded her. However, I have assured her that through my Google search, she's only 7 minutes away from where she needs to go. And I can even offer to drive her in 5 minutes because in another life. It is now my utmost pleasure to invite our ACA to share with us our better speakers, better evaluators, just so that we can move very fast and go on to the next session. Over to you. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam President. Our best evaluator today is Fatma Amir.
Fatma, you're not here, but there is your ribbon. Oh, that's the wrong. Don't you worry. There you go. Well done. Well done.
On to our best table topic speaker, Helen Bintag.
They already heard what you said. Drum rolls for the better speaker of the evening. None other than our ACA. Fidel, a round of applause. You know what that means? You can actually play double roles. I am not saying that the rest of us should just sit and not take up roles, but you can actually play double, was it even triple roles, and still be able to emerge as the best, because that is what Toastmasters are made of. We are made of tough fabric, and definitely we are going far. As I listened to the district director speaking, a thought came to my mind, and maybe it sounds like an old adage to you by now. It is not in the culture of Africans to celebrate yourself, to celebrate what you have done. Last year around June, we were planning for the dedication of a church we had built. If you're a Catholic, you know what this means. In your lifetime, you never really get to participate in the dedication of a church because churches are not built every other day and it follows protocols. Forget the fact that I'm a medic. I decided that maybe I'm a good communicator, so I'll jump into the PR and communications, public relations and communications team. It was a volunteer role. We were 30 at the start. By December, when we actually dedicating the church, we were merely 7 people, but it happened. 3 things that I picked from that. We were able, as a team, actually in the entire team, there was no communications experts. We were all from different areas, but we were able to come up with a magazine, a memoir magazine for the event that covered the steps and the journey of the church throughout its 70 years of existence. We only sold it at 100 shillings. It had advertisements in it, and therefore to produce it, we used 350,000, but we were able to collect what we used to produce it and gave to the church 450,000 in excess. That's it. Also, that was a formidable event that was attended by 1, the nuncio, that is the Pope's representative to Kenya, and 5 other bishops. Again, if you're Catholic, you know, unless it is an Episcopal meeting or 1 bishop has died, you can never have more than 2 bishops in one event. They made time for it and they came, thanks to the PR and communication. And lastly, we had anticipated to have 1,000 guests,
because it was on a Thursday, well, to try and lock out some people, but it was also a Marian feast for the church. And because the church is named after Mary, then we thought we would only have 1,000 people. Woe unto us. They got everything else. We had extra seats, but they didn't get enough food. Why? We got 3,000 guests on a Thursday, 8th of December, 2022. What has that taught me? I may never have thought about it as being something that Toastmasters did to me, but the communication really got the word out there. The Nation newspaper gave us 2 full pages free of charge for 2 days, on a Saturday and on a Sunday. That's prime. You can't afford to pay for that space. The Star and the Standard newspaper, 1 full page for Saturday and Sunday respectively. And of course, a host of all other media stations, just because of communication. Think about what communication can do to you. And when you get small wins, celebrate them. Finally, we have made it for this physical meeting. I know the rain was there, the inconvenience of trying to make it to town. Karenites, we're used to the comfort of no traffic. But do we say, should we continue? However, we still made it here. Kwanza, you welcomed us. There's tea and there's everything. And everybody else who made it to join us online. There is so much more that we could be doing, but we chose to be here, to listen to what we have to learn from each other. If you have a friend, you have a relative, you have that colleague who is struggling to bring things together, kindly welcome them to be members of Toastmasters. Speak about it, do it, be it, rise to the occasion. Without much further ado, I hereby